everybody. Today in English we're going to be thinking a bit more about our story Mr. Wiggle and Mr. Waggle. Before we start though, we're going to start with learning some new common exception words, or our red words. Do you remember they're the ones that we say the letter names from, not the sounds, because the sounds don't help us learn to read these words. We'll use my turn, your turn. W-E, we. Your turn. W-E, we. And the next one. M-E, me. M-E, me. Well done. H-E, he. H-E, he. Good job. B-E, be. B-E, be. And our last one for today. I-S, is. I-S, is. Good job. So what we're going to do today is we're going to be working on our story Mr. Wiggle and Mr. Waggle again. Can you see I've got the story map here? But what can you notice? Oh yes, there's some white boxes, aren't there? So I've covered up our characters in the story. I've covered up Mr. Wiggle and Mr. Waggle, and also the title of our story at the top. Because today I'm going to change the story a little bit. I'm going to innovate the story by adding some new characters. So I'm going to choose some animals I think I'm going to have as my characters, but you could have you and your friend, or you could have some characters from a television programme you want to watch, or some superhero characters. It's going to be completely up to you. I'm going to choose some animals, and I'm going to choose some animals that live in cold places. I think I'm going to have a penguin and a seal. So what I'm going to need to do is to draw these animals into the boxes. So remember, this was Mr. Wiggle and Mr. Waggle. And then this was Mr. Wiggle's box, wasn't he, when he went to visit Mr. Waggle. And then this is Mr. Waggle's box when he goes to visit Mr. Wiggle. And then at the bottom of our page, we have them both again, Mr. Wiggle and Mr. Waggle. So I'm going to have, in the first box, I'm going to have my penguin. So I think I'm just going to draw the penguin's face. So here we go. So it's a rounded face I'm going to have. And I'm going to make it like that. Some space there for his beak. It's going to be a bit of his tummy showing there. And I'm going to give his eyes are going to come in there. There's his little penguin eyes. Now the top of the penguin is going to be black, so I'm just going to very quickly, just to give you the idea on this one, shade that in black. And he has a black tummy, doesn't he? But his face is white. Okay, and I'm going to give him a beak, so I'm going to use, I've got my yellow pen ready as well. And I'm going to give him a yellow beak, which I don't think you'll be able to see very well. Can you see? Oh no, you can. There we go. So that's my little penguin face. My other character is going to be a seal. So I'm going to try and draw kind of the head of a seal as well in this box. So here we go. Bit like he's bobbing up out of the water. There we go. Let's give him a bit of a nose. Around there. And let's do some eyes for him. Ooh, which way should we have his eyes going? I think his eyes are going to go that way. Kind of like long eyes. And give him some eyebrows. Because they do have eyebrows, seals, a bit like us. There we go. Give him a tongue. And there's some of his whiskers. There we go. So I'm going to use my pencil to colour him. I'm going to give him a bit of a red tongue. Bit of a red tongue. Oop, I nearly did his nose red then instead. There we go. Colour that bit in. His little tongue. And I'm going to colour in the rest of him. Just going to use the side of my pencil because he's going to be sort of a grey colour. So I'm just carefully colouring him in grey. Just shading him lightly. And then over here, I'm going to do this bit a little bit darker, just to make it stand out. And then colour in his nose black. So they're my two characters for my story. And what I'm going to do now is I've made that so that you don't have to wait for me to draw all of it. I've got one ready for us earlier where I've put all of the characters in. So let me just fold the top of the paper over so it fits on our board. There we go. There we are, there's my penguin. And my seal, all ready as our characters in our story. So my story can't be called Mr. Wiggle and Mr. Waggle anymore, can it? My story needs to have the names of my characters in it. And the names that I've chosen for my characters are Peter Penguin and Susie Seal. So that's what my story is going to be. My title, sorry, is going to be for my story. So I'm going to write in Peter Penguin in my next word. Oh, move my clip over. And Susie Seal. There we go. And starts with an and you can't see what I'm writing very well, can you? And Susie. We'll have to put Seal under here because I've nearly run out of space. Seal. Peter Penguin and Susie Seal. So that's my title for my story. But the rest of my story is exactly the same. So I can now use my story map to tell our story just in the same way as I would have done with Mr. Wiggle and Mr. Waggle. So let's give it a try. I'm going to say, once upon a time, there were two friends, Susie Seal. Wrong way round. Start again. Once upon a time, there were two friends, Peter Penguin and Susie Seal. Early one morning, Peter Penguin woke up and decided to visit his friend, Susie Seal. So he opened up the door, popped outside and closed the door. Then he went up the hill and down the hill, up the hill and down the hill, up the hill and down the hill, all the way to Susie Seal's house, where he knocked on the door. But Susie Seal didn't answer, so he knocked on the door again. But Susie Seal still didn't answer. So Peter Penguin went up the hill and down the hill, up the hill and down the hill, up the hill and down the hill, all the way home, where he opened up the door, popped inside and closed the door. And he fell fast asleep. The next morning, Susie Seal woke up and decided to visit her friend Peter Penguin. So she opened up the door, popped outside and closed the door. Then she went up the hill and down the hill, up the hill and down the hill, up the hill and down the hill, all the way to Peter Penguin's house, where she knocked on the door. But Peter Penguin didn't answer, so she knocked on the door again. But Peter Penguin still didn't answer, so Susie Seal went up the hill and down the hill, up the hill and down the hill, up the hill and down the hill, all the way home, where she opened up the door, popped inside and closed the door. And she fell fast asleep. The next morning, both friends woke up and decided to visit each other. So they opened up their doors, popped outside and closed their doors. Meow. Then they went up the hill and down the hill, up the hill and down the hill, up the hill and down the hill, and met on a bridge. Hello, said Peter Penguin. Hello, said Susie Seal. Oh, I like your yellow nose, said Susie Seal. Oh, I like your big long whiskers, said Peter Penguin. Goodbye, goodbye. And the two friends went up the hill and down the hill, up the hill and down the hill, up the hill and down the hill, all the way home, where they opened up their doors, popped inside, closed their doors, and they both fell fast asleep. Beebo Bendit, my story has ended. Now it's your turn, guys. So your job today is to use the storytelling map that we had before, and there's another one that Mummy and Daddy might be able to get for you if you've got a printer. If not, I wonder if you could draw your own one. But your job is to come up with 2 new characters. You could choose animals like mine, or if you wanted to, you could just have you and a friend. Or you could have two other people. You could have Batman and Spider-Man. Or you could have a giraffe and an elephant. Or you could have a cat and a dog. Or you could have a T-Rex and a Stegosaurus. Or you could have Minnie Mouse and Mickey Mouse. I wonder who you're going to choose. Have a go at drawing your characters and then telling your story with your new characters. I look forward to seeing some of you. Maybe some of you could send some videos to me later. Okay then, bye for now. Bye.